Outside linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers, TJ Watt seems pretty frustrated by the new rules that could be coming to the NFL next season. So, TJ Watt, he appeared on the Pat Mcafee Show last week to kind of recap this past season and also talk about the next season. And they brought up an interesting fact about a new rule change that could be coming to the NFL. And he seemed pretty frustrated by it. So, just in case if you don't know, the NFL always adds rules to protect player safety. And in the past, they obviously added the targeting rule where you can't hit a player in the head or helmet, and also they made an emphasis to protect the quarterback on late hits. And all those rules are fine because those should be banned from the game. But this next season, they're adding a new rule about the hip tackling rule. It's kind of where you can't hip drop tackle. And just in case if you don't know what that is, the hip drop tackle is when a defensive player grabs an offensive player by the hip and drops their weight on the player's ankles to tackle them. And that's used pretty often in the NFL. And TJ Watt had this to say about the new rule change. It's tough because you can't practice it. So how are we supposed to continue to get better at it when I'm not allowed to do it as much in practice setting? I mean, in training camp, we do tackle more than any team. We do live tackling once a practice. Even when you are in pads, it's a dud, and you can't really practice having your head up at all times and not tackling the quarterback too low or too high. It's tough because as an edge defender, you're often chasing down players from the backside and you have to lay out. You can't possibly run through the tackle, so you kind of have to just grab and then fall down as best as you can. Nothing is malicious at the end of the day. We all respect each other in this league. We're never trying to hurt somebody. So that's completely true because as a defensive player, especially one who plays on the defensive line or rushes off the edge, you're always going downhill towards the quarterback. Meaning, when the running back is taken in the opposite direction from where you are, you're chasing the guy from behind if you don't get him right away. And the only way you can really make the tackle is either by tripping at his ankles or the hip drop tackle, where you grab him at his hip and bring him down. And that's often used by many defensive players. So adding this new rule, it's going to be very interesting to see how a defensive player, especially one on the line, could chase someone from behind. You're basically giving the offensive player free space to just run. And as a defensive player, you can't really do anything about it other than if you're tackling from the front side. And also, TJ Watt does this all the time. You see, when TJ Watt is left a wide open rush and they run opposite side to him. They leave him unblocked and they run a stretch play to the opposite side. TJ Watt is chasing the guy from behind and he always grabs him by the hip and falls on his legs. And that's just something that you're learned and you train to do because that's the easiest way to tackle a player. You don't want to give up a wide open run or a wide open touchdown or a big explosive play that can switch momentum. So you want to make a tackle any way you can. You're not doing it to injure someone, you're just doing it to make the play. And that's really frustrating for TJ Watt. But he also said at the end of the day, if they do make the rule change, he's just going to have to deal with it. This is that quote. You have to deal with it for sure. It's tough. Quarterbacks nowadays are getting the ball out where you have to wrap them up. It's like, how long are we going to have to wrap him up before we get the call? Because obviously, if we take him down, it's a potential penalty. So obviously, as a good NFL player, as one of the best in the league, especially on the defensive side, he is going to have to get used to it if they do decide to make that rule change, even though it's a rule change that I don't really like, or most players probably won't like, other than if you're an offensive player. It's something that you will have to get used to, just like how they have to get used to not tackling late on the quarterback, and also not targeting a wide receiver above the head. It's just something that you're going to have to get used to. But let me know down in the comments below, how do you feel about the potential new rule change of not being able to tackle from the hip and land on the player's legs? Obviously, that prevents more ankle injuries and leg injuries like high ankle sprains and MCL sprains or whatever the case is. So let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on the new rule change if it does take place. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below as well if you like Steelers content, analysis, reports. Like the video, turn on post notifications down below for this channel as well so you get notified whenever I post the next Steelers video. Click the bell down below, and I'll see you guys all later. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.